Okay. Hello, this is Brendan. Do some drawing. Excuse my hoarse throat. Please, if you will. This is a Covi. It's armored design. This is actually a pencil sketch that I did, and this is a design for a type of character, type of military-like character in for a novel. It's an illustration I've been working on. This one never got beyond the pencil sketch mode. I think someone might have taken it and colored it. So different people are doing different things here. But yeah, I got to take this one and add something to it. The goal with this is to there's a few key elements that need to be portrayed in this. And while I'm talking, I just got to change the canvas size here. I just took this one off my website. Canvas size, we're probably going to move it up to, I don't know, 4,000 by 3,000. It's a good start. You need a little space to work with. And you never know when you're going to do like high res printing or something. I guess the best thing to do is do vector graphics, but I'm not doing that. So the key elements for this guy, if we zoom in here, is it's supposed to look techy. There's supposed to be a bit of the how to say the Master Chief. I'm not a Halo player myself. Looks like a cool game, just never had time. I want a bit of that Master Chief kind of techiness to it, and at the same time some aerodynamics, because he's supposed to have on his back a sort of a. Actually, it gets a little vague, a little confusing sometimes. Sometimes it seems that he's supposed to have. Just need to add a layer. He's supposed to have a jetpack, is that what you call it? So that can shoot out flames out the back and propel him through space. But at other times, I also notice it seems that his I haven't actually read the book yet. He's supposed to be able to kind of like Iron Man, where he can shoot. He has jet propulsion coming out from his hands and his feet, different things like this. But yeah, I have to read up on that and get a more clear answer. But those are basically the things. Excuse me. And here the space between his armor, you can see there's kind of a mesh thing going on there, and that would be a flexible, protective type of material. If you can imagine something that's bulletproof but also flexible. There is a material existing already, I think. I don't remember what it's called. Something like that. So one of the best things to do when you're starting up design, right now what we want to do with this is take what we have already here. This is not disapproved 100%, but make him a little thicker, more of, I don't know, kind of a real mechy upper body, and maybe thicken up, apparently it's okay to thicken up the legs a bit too. I want to give him a big, like, masculine V kind of shape, so he looks very powerful, but at the same time maintaining some aerodynamics. So that's a lot of stuff to digest there. Let's just go ahead. I mean, the first thing to do when you're doing a drawing design is you don't want him just standing there. It's always really boring. Let's have him do something, and whatever, even if he's just walking or whatever. Let's have him doing something. And I'm not going to go with the jump into the shooting crazy kind of thing. Maybe he's even just walking, right? So imagining here's some shoulders and stuff like that. And yeah, this is a very big canvas size, so it's going to be a little slow. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to forget about the human element of it. I mean, there's one element of it that I will keep in mind here, and that's some anatomy proportions. So his arms are this big. How big are they? So one head high. It's usually about not a full arm. I think your arm bone will extend longer than the size of your head, so it'd be like a head and a quarter or something. So that kind of makes sense if his head's that big, and then his hands would come down here. So just remember, it is a human underneath all of this armor that's going on here, and we're just gonna have him walking. And then for the extreme, one of the elements of extreme masculinity is the chest kind of popping out, but not like breast, more like a proud arrogance that kind of comes out. So you can see, I'm not sure if you can make this out, what I have so far here. This is one arm is going back, this one's moving forward, and he's walking in this direction here. This is his face, Let me just put some stuff in here so you can make it out a little bit better. I might even go with a bigger brush. Why am I... Okay, there we go. Yeah, something like that. So there's a mean, unhappy face. And then this comes up. That's his chest. And his body would come down here. It's super mechy kind of look. So this is going to look almost like a robot. But you need to think there is a human in there. One of the challenges with this I've been really struggling with is it's hard to realistically fit a human into something that, like, I mean, we already had this one done, and I'm going, you know, I don't want to go cartoony. I want it to look realistic. People realize things. If I were to make this, sorry, let me bring that down. The requirements for this here is we're saying that we want him to be even bigger, even bulkier, even more mechy. You know, like his arms coming out to here and crazy stuff like that. But you got to keep in mind, we also want it to look human and plausible, possible, because people are smart and they're going to notice if it looks like you can't even actually fit a human inside that thing, then it's not going to be well received by the public. So what we have to do is use a little bit of common sense, and at the same time try to you know, break the ordinary rules. So yeah, I'm still going to go in and draw in. This is all just sketch mode here, so nothing's going to come out beautiful. I'm just going to go ahead and draw in both the regular body and, you know, here'd be his arm muscles coming down here, and there's his hand. Maybe he's even holding a gun or something. This is yeah, this is what we're going to do. Maybe there's smoke coming from the gun. I don't know. I'm just, you know, being stereotypical. I use the word stereotypical too much. I was watching one of my own videos the other day, and I'm just going on and on about stereotypical. Is he wearing a kilt? What is this? I'm just throwing random things down. This arm is going back, so for walking kind of gesture, this one's going to move forward a little. Again, keeping in mind real anatomy. Let me see if his arm were to come here, you know. I do want to nitpick about anatomy because it bothers me that I've studied it for so many years, and sometimes, you know, I look back on a drawing I did, I said, why didn't I just take the time and draw that out? I know better than to do that. This leg should be going back, and I want to have more masculine V in here. Okay. And this software I'm using today is called Krita. If you don't know it, you should check it out. It's free software. You can download it for free. And since you can see I'm already using it on Linux, this is the Linux operating system, so we can assume they also have it working for Windows and Macintosh products. I'm not sure how far they're supporting it in the way of devices and things like that, but this on a Linux desktop computer, and we have yeah, we have it working fine here with a Wacom tablet. So another one of the challenges. So now you can see, you know, kind of blur your eyes, and oh yeah, there's my basic you know, framework there. I have a choice right now. I can choose to either move him up and get the whole, you know, fit the legs in, or just leave it like that. The only reason, and I've been wanting to bring this up a lot, I have to remind myself. There's a lot of things we learn in art that, you know, are true, but sometimes have to you have to take a moment to consider exactly what the meaning and the usage of it is. In a composition, a good proper composition class, they would definitely tell me make sure that you have the whole body in view. Why chop off the legs? There's no reason for it, and that's true. There is one reason though. Sometimes you want to zoom in and make sure that you're exposing all the details to the viewer. You cannot simultaneously have the whole body in view and also have you know, like very small details of facial features and stuff, because once the, you know, if the person has to zoom out like this, unless you're working on a giant oil painting or something like that, but for web purposes we don't have that luxury. We're stuck to the size of the monitor. So, and that's generally true for all illustration too, because whether it's on web or if it's going to be, you know, published into a magazine or something like this, you really just don't have that option of showing great size and you know, also showing the detail. You have to choose to either zoom in or come back. So I'm making that decision right now as we speak. I think, you know what, since it's a character design, the decision just made itself for me. We're gonna have to put the whole character in, and what I'm gonna do is just resize this layer a little, and we might even end up putting a background in there. Um, I'm a little new with this software. The reason that I just jumped right into this software is because, let me use percents. Excuse me again. Once I started using this, yeah, that worked fine. Once I started using this Krita software, it was, I don't know how to say, not like love at first sight, but like it was just perfect. It was unbelievable. As soon as I picked it up and just the tablet worked with it right away. There's no problems. I didn't have to configure anything. It just worked the way it was supposed to. I'm still kind of fumbling with it. Not extremely comfortable. I'm not, just used to which hotkeys to hit and stuff like that. That is just a little short. Let's see. I was using the GIMP previously. I like to use free softwares as long as they do the trick. And with the GIMP, you can set one hotkey to go into brush mode, and then another key to go into eraser mode. But with Krita, it seems that there's just one. Once you're in brush mode, you're in brush mode, and you toggle brush mode between erase and draw. So that part keeps confusing me. Just one of those, like, it's kind of an annoyance, because you know how you're used to something being a certain way, and then when you change it, it's different. You keep doing the wrong thing. I kind of feel like everything was fine. I just had to make his lower legs just a little bit bigger, but then once I did that, things started getting weird. Let me see. Now his feet are too big, blah blah blah. Anyway, remember he's going to be wearing boots and stuff too, so it's no big deal. Let's leave that like that. As a matter of fact, I might even just go ahead and like throw in some shade or something like this. Why not? So the light is coming over from the right hand side there. It's going to be a dynamic Hollywood kind of thing. A strong lighting. The lighting is important to to help make out the shape. We're dealing with a two-dimensional surface here, but we need to portray a lot of the three-dimensional space in order for the viewer, for the eye of the viewer to be able to make out exactly what's happening here. Thumb there. I've learned after a lot of drawing hands that make a mitt and make a thumb, and you got a good basis, a good foundation. Okay, this is pretty good. So you get, a basic rough design there. It does kind of look like he's wearing a kilt, doesn't it? I don't think that'll be well accepted. No offense to the Scotsman there. Just if nobody mentioned, usually when you're doing illustration, if nobody specifically says put a kilt on them, you can normally assume that they didn't want a kilt. Although I could try that, you never know. Maybe they'll like it. So going back to that original image, I do want to try and keep. We had some unique stuff in here I'd like to keep. We have the chest plate, which I have going here. Stomach plates. They're supposed to be armor. What I'm doing is taking real anatomy parts of the male figure and turning them into semi-futuristic, aerodynamic looking components, machine components. And so he ends up with a bit of a robotic look and feel to him, and then all of these techie things. The requirements for the helmet were quite strict, and they do keep changing. See how it keeps making that dot, even though I didn't really hit it. That's one weird thing about Krita I've been discovering. Let me get back down here. Yeah, we went over the design for the helmet, if that's what you call this, the the headgear, the helmet, the mask. We went over this in pretty rigid detail, as there was requirements for it. So you want this and that, and I added just a tiny bit of my own creativity to it here and there. The eyes seem to be meant for a goggly kind of look. You imagine the kind of goggles that you'd wear if you're skiing, or like a ski mask kind of thing, or if you're doing like BMX kind of thing. I have a feeling that there's a strong it's a military thing, and so you want it to have a certain kind of, I don't know how to say, like intimidation factor, I guess. Should have kind of like just a hardcore look to them, a rigid edge, maybe kind of mean. So here you get a little bit of that with the look I just did here, a little bit of a kind of a Vader thing, sort of like Star Wars gas mask kind of look to it, which is, I mean, he does have to breathe underneath that thing, right? So this is kind of the original design, but then here it would split for no reason. That's where, I mean, you let the imagination go wild. It's not necessarily for no reason, but I just had this split in here to make it look like something important is happening. It's a little techie. Now, how much further, now that I have that foundation down there, how much further can I exaggerate this, the arms and stuff like that to really make it look, I think pretty much the setting is like thousands of years in the future, or maybe 1,000. It's very far off in the future. What we're trying to do here, I know from some of the they submit sample drawings sometimes. They say they'll go online and say find some stuff that they like, and they say this is kind of the look I'm going for. And so in these sample drawings that I was sent, what we're looking at basically is it's borderline fictitious, or I mean definitely fictitious, but just some really crazy like super armor that probably wouldn't necessarily be considered realistic in any way, shape, or form. But it has a techie look to it because it's just for a look, and that's this is what frequently happens in design. Is you're not really going for something super realistic. You're going to look cool. If you look at video games, if you look at a lot of science fiction content, stuff like this, if they're trying to be 100% realistic all the time, lo and behold, nobody really cares. They get bored. People like to see, fancy, exaggerated, artsy kind of stuff. So it's kind of what we're going for here. Although I personally like more realistic stuff, but I don't always get what I want. This is what I get. Some more shading over here. So now he has these big boxy things. Part of the hard work that has to be achieved here now is he does have a bigger, stronger masculine V going on like this, which is good. And then, okay, here we go. Yeah, we wanted the jet packs on the back. That's important. So he's really, buffing up here, and maybe even come out the back a little bit like that. But we still want it to be aerodynamic. So I'm going to take those boxes, curve them on the edges here, and it's very rough. So I have to figure out why, these super hand things here. It's like, I kind of like this. The idea, you have to be creative and think about why is it like that while you're doing it. And so he is supposed to have a thing, this character, on his, what you call it, like a wristband. He has a wristband. And on his wristbands, he'll have like a computer thing. I don't remember if it's like, I haven't played all these games, but if you can think of some sci-fi where you saw them, some guy, he has a wristband and he puts it in front of his face and taps on it with his other hand and does some calculations or sets off a bomb or whatever, that kind of thing. It's just a computer module or interface. Maybe like in Star Wars, they have the Bounty Hunter. I don't know if you ever saw that, the Bounty Hunter. He has on his wrist, like on his armband here, he has a little some kind of computer terminal thing where he can type in some code, make some bomb go off or something. So that looks pretty cool like that. Very vague, sketchy. It's an idea that I can pass forward to see, how it goes. And what I'm going to do right now is I need a break. I got to get a cup of tea. And I need to, think about this for a minute. I'm going to leave this here, and I'll be back in a second to finish this video up. Okay, so now I'm going to play around with the overall shape of things here. Just had my tea, ready to get back to drawing for a little. This is not going to be too much longer. What I'm thinking here is, it looks like he's got two big boxes on his shoulders, and I want to smooth that out a little. So one thing I can do is bring this down a bit. Maybe we can even play with his shape a little. Do like kind of a teardrop thing. I can never tell if I'm on erase mode or which mode I'm on. And we're leaving space for the arm, the elbow. Well, first the arm has to be able to pivot. And this is another thing that was, as I was saying earlier, it was kind of a, it's been a bit of a conundrum to get this out the way it's supposed to be, because I want it to be somewhat realistic. I want it to look like his body can actually move around. Let's keep in mind, let alone just having a person fit inside the suit. But if it looks so bulky and so bizarre that he can't even realistically move in the thing, well, that would be it'd be ridiculous. It would just it would make a laughing stock out of the design. Don't really want that to happen. Also, in the beginning, what we actually had was, I kind of like this without the center thing going there. I'm going to try that. I'm going to push that forward, see what they think. And I wanted his chest to pop out with that certain amount of like arrogance to it. How do I achieve that? I need to push this back a little. I guess this should come out like this. Yeah. And it's supposed to be. See, I thought at first I imagined his body would be twisted a bit more. It's supposed to be popping out kind of like this and then go back down. That's kind of the look I'm going for there. So it should curve out like this. So only to show that, I do think I might want to have the center piece there just to help to portray that type of effect. Yeah. And slowly but surely it gets a bit more techy. Now, the one thing is the shoulders were a bit too boxy, and we want it to be aerodynamic, so round it off here. And then I kind of felt like there was just too much separation. What I want is a unified top piece, something a little bit more organic, where it kind of blends together with itself. So somehow the backpack would seem to fit in place with the other stuff here. And there you go. See how that kind of like, now we're getting a merger where everything is blending in together like that, while maintaining the masculine shapes. And so in the original design, he has, I'm not sure if we still need this, but he has sort of, what would you call it? There's a part that goes, there's a plate for his torso here. That's the torso, the waist actually. That's what we're talking about. He has a portion here that's onto itself. But that was kind of hard to design too, because if that's metal, you got to think, then how are his legs going to move around flexibly, excuse me, with that. So maybe this part, the front part, can be metal, and the center turns into a material, some fabric. Maybe it's even transparent, I don't know. Something like that. And then come down to here. That helps to make a divide from the top of the body to the bottom. And we're going to go a little bit of design in here. Just down a couple steps. So it looks like there's some metal plates moving around in there. And there's a lot of cleanup work to be done here. And then we also separated the legs and the boots like this, so the knees are kind of exposed with that protective material, and that allows for the flexibility of his legs to be running around. All these things are quite important. I was told to possibly thicken up the legs a little. Try that here. Okay. See how coming in with the eraser in these certain areas really brings out like the highlights and the shape of things. So for example, if I were to just do something like that there and like this here, then it gives suggestion that there's some kind of grooves. Here we can make distinction between here and there by going like this. This brings out details. One thing we learn if you're taking art classes or if you're just studying by yourself is that the eraser is a tool. And I've always been a believer of that. You know, you can't believe everything you hear. Different artists have different arguments for different things. I usually find that being a dogmatic artist is not a good way to go. Some people just like to set up rules for everything. I prefer a lot of flexibility, and so you never know what's going to happen. Things can change. So his upper arm at this point is pretty much covered up by this thing, and you have to ask yourself, is that a problem? And I think the answer is no, not really. It's okay. But what is the exact shape? You need to decide upon that. Just have to be clear and symmetric. Something will come out of it. So he's got kind of a teardrop thing starting on the top, and that tapers down into this. Again, you can see how the eraser as a tool is very useful in that situation. Well, he's definitely bulkier. Something about the head rubbing me the wrong way. Maybe it just needs to be a little bigger. Because it's a helmet, so technically speaking, you know, it'd be going around his head like that. But that looks kind of like a, well, it looks like a helmet, actually. That is how it should look, because his head should be in there, and then the helmet is going to add a lot of thickness. Makes him look kind of smart, too. I'm not sure if that's a good thing. Now, what can we do to really bring out that masculine V and make him look... We're going just for a super strong look, basically. One thing you can do is just tighten up the waist, basically. This is, you know, that's what happens. Because the smaller you make the waist, the bigger the rest looks. But I don't want it to get to the point where it doesn't look human anymore. A fine line right there. Okay. And I really got to get in here and do some cleanup work. See how this sketch quickly turned into a drawing. Then we have to go in and clean up. Then once you start cleaning, the more you clean, it gets a little addictive. You start to notice all these tiny little things like this and this and this. Actually, yeah. I mean, I could leave it like that, though. The abstract, there's an abstract look to it when it's sketchy, which I kind of like. But this time I want to go, I'm going for the high clarity kind of thing. Detail-orientated thing. There are a lot of details for this handed over as to what the boot should look like, and yeah, the hand should look. I haven't done this enough, this type of work enough times. I knew not to spend too much time worrying about each and every detail, but more so just to make it look good. And the reason for that is a lot of people, the reason they come to an artist or an illustrator is because they're expecting you to bring something to the table. And so it's nice when you give them these little surprises. Maybe you drew something that they didn't even think of, and they end up loving it, just like that. So you look at the details in the specs, then you spit something out, and then when they come back and tell you that they wanted something a certain way, that's when you know that that part of it is important to them or relevant to the story. Sometimes something you might have thought was a minor detail is actually very important for the storyline or something like this. So reflective lighting over here. If the light is this strong over here, it's definitely going to bounce off of something from back over there. And when it bounces back, it'll do this kind of thing. So I keep thinking this part here, to put his leg back further, this should be casting a shade, a shadow onto this part here. Maybe just a little. Yep. Getting sharper. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to just keep that as a foundation, I think, to start off with. Somewhere along the line, I think something's going to come to me. I'm going to flip it this way to check for some, I do feel like there's a little lack of symmetry here. Could be this part here, because this one doesn't seem to have that kind of thing going on. Seems to go up and then go down like that, yeah. And he seems to be leaning. Some things I still don't know how to put it into words, but there seems to be a slant, and I know why. It's a result of my hand preferring to do lines like this. I'm left-handed. Lines like this come out a little harder for me. See, when I do it that way, they get wiggly. But I can do these all day long. And so, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And so what happens is sometimes a bit of a slant comes out of the whole drawing, which was not intended. So the solution to that is to flip it around and just clean it up here and there. There we go. Also, you can see a little lack of symmetry here and there. Eyes are so important. People, when they look at an illustration, if there's anything in there remotely resembling an animal or a human, their eyes, your attention will immediately be drawn directly to the eyes. So they have to look good. I might dare to say you could, totally botch up a lot of the anatomy on the body, but if you get the eyes right, then, I mean, it's not a good way to think about it. Hopefully everything comes out good. But, truth be told, it's one of the most important elements. And then the symmetry and stuff of the head. And sometimes you find if you get that one thing right, like if you just really nail the head, the face, then everything else starts to just fall into place too. Yeah. There's something weird about this head here. I feel like, I don't know, maybe he doesn't need this much shading. Is this a new component coming out here of the head? I see another side. I'm getting really frustrated with this going from eraser to brush back and forth thing. I mean, that's what I want to do, but in Krita, the way it works is a little weird for me. We came out with a Lobi kind of thing here, where it looks like he's got his cranium in there, which is both interesting and possibly disturbing. I'm not quite sure. I'll just leave it like that for now and see what happens. We're going to work on the the helmet design a bit more, I have a feeling, It's the how do you say it? The requirements for that are quite high. The gun here, like everything else, has to be techy. Should be a lot of weird stuff going on. I'm just doing this freehand, actually. In the GIMP, I would hold down Shift. I still haven't figured out on this software. If it was the GIMP, I would be doing something like just holding the Shift key, and I can make a line there. This is ending up with a teardrop shape, just like kind of like a shoulder, so there's kind of a theme going on there. It's a theme which I'm not sure if I like or not, but you know, just play with it for now, see what happens. At least it looks like, you know, there's something going on there. See what I mean? How this metal kind of looks like. That's wrong. Looks like it doesn't really leave a lot of flexibility for his legs to be moving. So, yeah, kind of has to pop out a little. Anyway, yeah, I feel like I have the basis down. And I'll just clean this part up. Back to the regular view. Looking much better. I'm going to get rid of this thing here. We don't need it anymore. Or do we? Let me zoom in. We got the guns. Oh, and the techie stuff on his body is the only other thing. He even had knee pads. He looks kind of like a motorcyclist or something. But that's what I gathered was, you know, I'm not a huge believer in random tech for the sake of being techie. I always want to think, like, what is the purpose? What is the reason for this thing? Okay, so, but when you get into design, sometimes you just got to do that thing. What I decided to do, for the sake of the techiness here, is just have some lines going around, like it's a computer keyboard or something. Not a keyboard, sorry. Where did I go with that idea? Computer, what do you call it? Like a motherboard? Circuit board, that's the word I'm looking for. So there's a circuit board kind of feel around here. And maybe sometimes it's a little random, maybe sometimes specific. Might even have a little circle in here. Circles, squares, triangles. And this, you know, can add stuff to the imagination. It also adds a little depth. It helps to bring out the perspective and stuff like that. And a little randomization is always organic as well. You don't want things to feel, I mean, this is a mechy thing, but even with mech things, you see what really brings out the mech look sometimes is not the fact that it's all machine planned. There's some places where they just had to do something, and this is true with you know, in reality too. Like sometimes things, machines that are built, they're not made exactly, you know, by the design as the designer wanted it, because they just had to make an exception for the laws of nature. Maybe they needed a little mechanism. Maybe they needed more space to actually get the technology into the device, and so they had to add some, you know, bizarre components here or there. That's just nature. Something like that. Kind of an interesting design. The only other thing I'll do with this is color it in real quick. Since this video is getting kind of long, I think I'm not going to do that now. I'll do that separately, and I'll post the image up when this video is up on YouTube or wherever you see it. I'll try and add a link at my website. If you enjoyed watching this, there's much more to come. Please feel free to subscribe, and if you liked it, please give it a like. Thank you very much. See you next time.